How to play the G7th chord. The full name for the G7th chord is G dominant 7th. However, if you see it in guitar music, tablature and chord charts, it's usually referred to as simply G7. Let's learn how to play the G7th chord. Firstly, press the first finger in the first fret of the top E string. Next, press the second finger in the second fret of the A string. Finally, press the third finger in the third fret of the bottom E string. Now strum all the strings. Now, let's see that done with the guitar. Firstly, press the first finger in the first fret of the top E string. Next, press the second finger in the second fret of the A string. Finally, place the third finger in the third fret of the bottom E string. And now strum all the strings. If your G7 chord isn't sounding correct or you're having trouble reaching it, let's see if we can work out what's going on. Firstly, however, we need to double check the tuning of your guitar. So, take your fingers off the strings and play each note one by one to check the tuning. If your guitar sounds obviously out of tune, or you're not sure if it is in tune, pause the video at this point and check it with a tuner. Right, once your guitar's tuned up, let's put the fingers back on the strings. Firstly, place the first finger in the first fret of the top E string, then place the second finger in the second fret of the A string, and finally press the third finger in the third fret of the bottom E string, and now strum. If your G7th chord still isn't sounding right, try playing each note one by one. If it's the fingered strings that don't sound right, you want to look carefully at where the fingers are. Check they're properly located between the frets and they're not on the metalwork or overlapping the frets. Also check the fingers are as central as possible onto the strings and they're not flopping between the strings or just skirting the edge of the strings. This might be easier said than done because the G7 is quite a stretch. If you are struggling with the stretch, one of the first things you could try doing is just moving the fingers around and adjusting them, and pay a special attention to the position of the thumb. If you move the thumb around the guitar towards the floor, it does two things. It will bring the fingers onto their tips, but also it allows you to reach a lot further. If your thumb is too far around the back of the neck, you cramp your fingers up and it prevents them from stretching out. Whenever you do any finger adjustments, remember to retry the strings one by one to see if the chords become any better. With the G7, it's unusual to have any issues with the open strings, apart from maybe the D string. However, if you do have a problem with the D string, look carefully at your second finger and readjust it and make sure it's not touching the D string. If you have particularly small hands, it would be even more important to bring your thumb right round the back of the neck towards the floor. This will stretch your hands out and bring your fingers round in order to make the stretch achievable. If you don't achieve a good G7 straight away, don't worry. The first thing you can try is remove all your fingers and just reapply them. And if you don't achieve it during your first practice session, don't worry, come back to it again, you will get it.